Hello everyone, this is Meenakshi Tilimbirari, working as a assistant professor at Maratha Vidya Prasarak Samaj, Nasik. Today we are going to discuss about environmental policies and practices. It is now generally accepted that the environment is threatened by a wide variety of human activities. So, the main objective of Environment Protection Act is to provide the protection and improvement of environment and for matters connected therewith. The act is one of the most comprehensive legislations with a pretext to protection and improvement of the environment. The Environment Protection Act was enacted in the year 1986. It was enacted with the main objective to provide the protection and improvement of the environment. So, let us see the different protection act related with air and also water. The Constitution of India clearly states that it is the duty of the state to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and wildlife of the country. The Department of Environment was established in India in 1980. This later became the Ministry of Environment and Forest in 1985. The Constitution of India also provides for the protection of the environment. Article 48A of the Constitution specifies that the state shall endeavour to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and wildlife of the country. Also, Article 51A further provides that every citizen shall protect the environment. The Environment Protection Act 1986 came into force soon after the Bhopal gas tragedy, and it is considered an umbrella legislation as it fills many gaps in the existing laws. Thereafter, a large number of laws came into existence as the problems began arising. For example, handling and management of hazardous waste rules in 1989. It is now generally accepted that environment is threatened by a wide variety of human activities that ranges from the instinctive drive to reproduce its kind to the restless urge of improving the standards of living, development and technological solutions to this end. The vast amount of waste, both that may be natural and chemical, that these advances produce. So, from time to time, various legislations have been enacted in India for this purpose. However, all legislations are prior to the 1986 Act have been specific relating to precise aspects of environmental pollution. However, the 1986 Act was general legislation which is enacted under Article 253, that is legislation for giving effect to international agreements. So, the first Environmental Protection Act, that is 1986, came into force soon after the Bhopal gas tragedy, and it is considered as an umbrella legislation as it fills many gaps in the existing laws. So, in today's lecture, we are going to discuss the Air Protection Act and umbrella legislation. So, the period of 1970s experienced an ascent globally in industrialization leading to degradation of the environment at a very high pace. The need was felt for a combined effort towards environment conservation from all over the world. The result of these combined efforts was the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment, that is the Stockholm Conference, which is in 1972 from 5 to 16 June 1972. Then in India, the Bhopal gas tragedy of 1984 called for urgent legislation in the field of environment. In this background, the Parliament passed the Environment Protection Act 1986 and the Environment Protection Rules 1986. India was a signatory to the Stockholm Conference of 1972, where the world community had resolved to protect and enhance the environment. While several legislations such as the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974 and the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981 were enacted after the conference, the need for general legislation had become increasingly evident. The EPA was enacted so as to overcome this deficiency. Stockholm Conference at 1972. The United Nations Conference on the Human Environment held in Stockholm in June 1972. It was held from 5th June to 16th June 1972 by the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment. The focus of this conference was the state of the global environment and the relationship between economics, science and the environment in a political context. The emphasis was on solving environmental problems but without ignoring social, economic and developmental policy factors. Here, India played a very significant contributory role in the conference. This conference laid the foundation of environmental legislation in India. So, we should remember the Stockholm Conference that was held in 1972 from 5th June to 16th June 1972 by the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment. The Environment Protection Act 1986. The Act came into force on November 19, 1986 and extends to the whole of the India. The Act was passed to provide for the protection and improvement of environment and for matters connected therewith. The Act gives certain powers to the central government to take measures for the purpose of protecting and improving the quality of the environment and to prevent environmental pollution. The Act is an umbrella legislation designed to provide a framework for central government coordination of the activities of various central and state authorities established under previous laws such as the Water Act and the Air Act. The Environment Protection Act is applicable to the whole of India including Jammu and Kashmir. It came into force on November 19, 1986. According to Section 2, the EPA, Environment Protection Act, gives the definition of environment that includes water, air and land and the interrelationship that exists among and between water, air and land and human beings, other living creatures, plants, microorganisms and property. So this definition is not exhaustive but an inclusive one. Also, environmental pollutants, that means any solid, liquid or gaseous substances that are present in such a concentration as may be or tend to be injurious to environment. So that may be then according to section 2 of the EPA. The Environmental Protection Act was in force in the year 1986 with the aim to protect and to improve the environment and the matters associated with it. The Environmental Laws Bill is a draft of the proposed amendment in Environment Protection Act 1986 and National Green Tribunal Act of 2010. The amendments are done with an objective of providing for an effective deterrent, penal provisions and introducing the concept of a monetary penalty for violations and contraventions. Environmental law and legislation are central in protecting us humans as well as different plants and animals in the greater ecosystem that we exist in. Environmental law ensures that individuals, governments, and cooperators do not cause harm to the environment or its ecosystem. It is central in setting up, regulating, and interpreting the various conventions and laws that have been initiated by various countries and international organizations across the world to prevent transgressions that pose a threat to the environment and by extension the humans race as a whole. So the Environment Protection Act that was enforced in the year 1986, and the aim of the Environment Protection Act, that is to protect and improve the environment and the matters associated with it. And what is the environmental law? The environmental law, it consists of a wide variety of legislation, enactments and provisions that are chiefly concerned with the regulation of human activity concerning our natural environment and its various interconnected ecosystems. While everything that is encompassed in environmental law may not directly intersect with each other, they all act as a safeguards in preventing environmental damage and ensuring effective management of the environment and its multiple ecosystem. So the main objective of Environment Protection Act is to provide the protection and improvement of environment and for matters connected therewith. So what are the objectives of this Environment Protection Act? To protect and improve the environment and environmental conditions, to implement the decisions made at the UN conference, United Nations Conference on Human Environment that was held in Stockholm in the year 1972, to take strict actions against all those who harm the environment, to enforce laws on the environment protection in the areas that are not included by the existing laws, and to give all the powers to the central government to take strict measures in favor of environmental protection. The Constitution of India also provides for the protection of the environment. Already I have explained that Article 48A of the Constitution specifies that the state shall endeavour to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and also wildlife of the country. Also Article 51A further provides that every citizen shall protect the environment. So these are the objectives of this Environment Protection Act. Now what are the definitions which are according to Environment Protection Act 1986? So first one, environment, that is it includes water, air and land and the interrelationship which exists among and between water, air and land and human beings, other living creatures, plants, microorganisms and property. So that is according to section 2A. Also environmental pollutant, that means any solid, liquid or gaseous substances present in such a concentration as may be or tend to be injurious or injurious to the environment. Then third one, environmental pollution. So what is the definition of this? That means the presence in the environment of any environmental pollutant that causes the pollution, environmental pollution, according to section 2C. So these are the important definitions. Next to that, central government is most powerful under EP Act, Environmental Pollution Act. The general powers of the central government S3, that are take all necessary measures for environmental protection, They can coordinate the actions of the state governments, lay down standards of environment quality and pollutants, execute nationwide programs, also restriction of areas for industries, etc., inspecting industrial premises, preparation of manuals, codes or guides. The central government may appoint officers and entrust them with such powers and functions as it may deem fit. So these are the general powers of central government. Central government is most powerful under EP Act. So we should remember what are the general powers of central government. They can take all necessary measures for environment protection, coordinate the actions of state government, also lay down standards of environment quality and pollutants. They can execute nationwide programs, also restrict of areas for industries, inspect industrial premises and also prepare the manuals or codes or guides. The central government is empowered to issue directions to any person, officer or any authority. So closer direction, that means with power to disconnect electricity and water supply. The central government is empowered to make rules to regulate environmental pollution on the following matters. So what are that? First, the standards of quality of air, water or soil. Also the maximum allowable limits of pollutants. The procedures for the handling of hazardous substances. The prohibition and restriction on the location of industries and the procedures and safeguards for the prevention of accidents. So to regulate the environmental pollution, these are the different matters which can be empowered by the central government. Now, what are the prevention or control measures to reduce the environmental pollution under EP Act 1986? First thing, that no person or industry is allowed to pollute the environment. Then procedures and processes are laid down to control pollution. Monitoring authority can carry out inspections. Power to take samples as per the prescribed procedures. Samples are also tested in environmental laboratories. Then there are some straight penalties and also some punishments. Whoever contravenes the provisions of the Act, maximum punishment up to 7 years and penalty up to rupees 1 lakh or rupees 5,000 per day for continued offences. For defaulter, companies or body, corporates, directors or partners are prosecuted. This act is also applicable to government departments and HOD prosecuted. So what are the penalties or punishment? Maximum punishment up to 7 years and penalty up to rupees 1 lakh or rupees 5,000 per day for continued offence. Silent features of the act. So what are that? First one, this act deals with the criminal jurisdiction and central government is most powerful. Environmental labs are established or authorized by central government, state government, CPCB or state PCB. Standards are laid down by central government, standard government, CPCB or state PCB. Person having highest authority is prosecuted and the hazardous waste are defined and special procedure is laid down for that. Locus standi is relaxed. Any person can file a case. This act is also applicable to government department and that is, this is an umbrella legislation. So these are the silent features of the act. Now what is umbrella legislation? There are several rules laid down under the EP Act. Few of the important rules are as under. First, Environmental Protection Rules 1986, Hazardous Waste Rules 1989, Biomedical Waste Rule 1998, Municipal Solid Waste Rules 2000, Noise Pollution Rules 2000, Ozone Depleting Substances Rules 2000, also Battery Waste Rules 2001, Plastic Waste Rules 2011, Electronic Waste Rules 2011. So there are several rules laid down under the EP Act, and few of the important rules are the under umbrella legislation. There are several notifications issued under EP Act 1986. So these are few important notifications are as under. Notification for declaration of Matheran as eco-sensitive zone. Notification for declaration of Mahabaleshwar as eco-sensitive zone 1993. Notification on fly ash. Also notification for restricting industries in Doon Valley area 1989, etc. So these are several notifications issued under EP Act. So these are important cases which are observed. First one, that is oleum gas leak case in 1986. Mining also observed, that is in 1987. Water Ganga water pollution case 1992. Calcutta, also Goa Foundation Taj Trapzeum case 1999, like that. So these are the important cases which are observed under EP Act. The Environment Protection Act was enacted in the year 1986, and it was enacted with the main objective to provide the protection and improvement of the environment. So these rules lay down further details for implementation of the Act. It provides standards for emission or discharge, etc. Procedure laid down for giving direction under S5 by central government. Prohibition and restrictions on locations which are based on proximity to human settlement, ancient monument, biodiversity, etc. Also procedure to take samples. When any person is filing complaint, format of notice and details about whom to serve the notice, etc. Also the format of environmental lab reports and format of environmental audit. So these are the rules laid down further details for implementation of the Act 1986. Now let us see the Air Prevention Control of Pollution Act 1981. The Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981, or the Air Act in short, was a law passed by the Parliament of India to prevent and control the harmful effects of air pollution in India. This act is seen as the first concrete step taken by the Government of India to combat air pollution. We know that air having the composition, normal composition, that is it contains nitrogen about 78%, oxygen 20.94%, argon 0.93%, and carbon dioxide 0.32%. So the Air Act in short was a law which is passed by the Parliament of India to prevent and control the harmful effect of air pollution in India, and this act is seen as the first concrete step taken by the Government of India. Why was the Air Act of 1981 passed? So the effect of climate change caused by all forms of pollution became all too apparent in the early 1970s. To mitigate their harmful effects, it was believed that nations would need to pass their own laws. Thus, during the United Nations General Assembly on Human Environment, which is held in Stockholm in June 1972, a resolution was passed which implored the nations of the world to preserve natural resources such as air. So, the India itself had issues regarding air pollution due to a wide variety of factors such as stubble burning, improper industrial practices, environmental factors, etc. To combat these factors, a special law was enacted under the Constitution of India, which was the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act of 1981. Now, what are the definitions under the Air Act? The following are the definitions under the Air Act. According to Section 2A, it defines an air pollutants. Air pollutants are the pollutants which are as any solid, liquid or gaseous substances which may cause harm or damage to the environment, humans, plants, animals or even damage property. A 1987 amendment to the Act also added noise in the list of harmful substances. The Air Act defines air pollution as the presence of any dangerous pollutant that makes the air unbreathable. The Section 2 of the Act also set up the Central Pollution Control Board, that is CPCB, whose powers extended to the whole of India. To carry out the directives of the CPCB, the Act also called for the setting up of the State Pollution Control Board SPCB for the individual states of India. Air Act refers to the measures adopted to maintain safe air standards, that is, enforcing rules and regulations after determining what is the safe level of emission in terms of motor vehicles, industrial emissions and common everyday uses. The most common example of this is the emission test and regular cyclic vehicle safety test. So, the Air Act, it is helpful in reducing air pollution and maintaining air quality. Now, what is the composition, powers and functions of the Central Pollution Control Board CPCB? The CPCB would have a chairman with crucial knowledge regarding environmental protection. He or she would be aided by a secretary appointed by the central government. In addition, 5 more members would be nominated by the central government. The functions of the CPCB are that take measures to mitigate the harmful effects of air pollution in India and make recommendations to the governments on how such steps can be taken. The board will lead technical assistance in carrying out research relating to air pollution. The board would create and publish data about air pollution and prepare guidelines on how to effectively reduce air pollutions. So these are the functions of CPCB, that is Central Pollution Control Board. The powers of Central Pollution Control Board are as it can declare an area as an air pollution area after consultation with the state government. Also, the central as well as the state pollution control board have the power to prohibit the sale or use of any fuel that may cause air pollution. Also having a power to give restrictions for ensuring standards for emission from automobile, restrictions on use of certain industrial plants. The Air Act empowers the state and central pollution control boards to carry out inspections of equipment, industrial plants or any other object which is believed to to be the cause of air pollution, the person in charge will have to assist the board in their inspection, and in refusing to do so will be considered an offense. So these are the powers of Central Pollution Control Board. So there are the different Air Act before 1981 Air Act. First of all, that is 1948, the Factories Act and amendments in 1987, first to express concern for the working environment of the workers. After that, 1981, the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, which was enacted under Article 253 of the Indian Constitution, provides for the control and abatement of air pollution. Then 1982, the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Rules, which defines the procedures of the meetings of the boards and the powers entrusted to them. After that, 1982, the Atomic Energy Act, which deals with the radioactive waste. Also, 1987, the Air Amendment Act, which empowers the central and state pollution control boards to meet with grave emergencies of air pollution. Also 1988, the Motor Vehicles Act, which states that all hazardous waste is to be properly packaged, labeled and transported. Now the penalties. According to section 37, there are different penalties or punishments. These are: punishment for violating any of the rule under this act shall be imprisonment for term which shall not be less than 1 year or 6 months and may extend to 6 years or with fine. In case failure continues, an additional fine of rupees 500 per day. If failure continues beyond 1 year, the punishment shall be imprisonment for term which shall not be less than 2 years and may extend to 7 years and with fine. Although several laws relations to environment have been enacted from time to time, but the overall impacts of these environmental legislations is not encouraging due to various reasons well known to the pollution control authorities, polluting industrial establishments, NGOs and people in general. So, the most significant step will be to create environmental awareness among people as a whole regarding their duties and rights with regard to the protection of the environment. So, it is our duty of the protection of the environment and prevention, control of the environmental pollution. So, in next lecture, we will discuss the Water Pollution and Prevention Act, also Forest Prevention and Control Act. Thank you. Save our environment, save our life.